Welcome to another video of Cash or Crazy. Nice to see you again. He bit a bat. He peed on history. He once snorted ants because Coke was too basic. Ozzy Osbourne didn't just party. He invented the party. But beneath the madness? A $220 million empire, a global brand, and a family that somehow survived it all. In 2025, the Prince of Darkness is gone. But his chaos? It still echoes louder than his music. Let's dive into the madness. And yes, we will play those iconic clips where he screams Sharon over and over again, because back in the day, he did it 20 times a day like it was part of the soundtrack. Ozzy Osbourne passed away in 2025, but let's be honest. We all thought he died in 2002, or in 1983, or when he bit that bat. But here's the wild part.
The Black Sabbath lead singer Ozzy Osbourne has died at the age of 76. His family have announced this evening. I'm going to read and show you the statement one more time from his family. And it says this.
But no, he lived, screamed, mumbled, and headbanged through it all. And this is his unhinged, undead legacy. Ozzy Osbourne died with a net worth of $220 million. Not bad for a man who once snorted ants and forgot most of the 80s. He owned multiple mansions, including an $11.5 million Gothic-style home in Hidden Hills and a Dracula-inspired Beverly Hills estate. At his peak, he spent $1,000 a day on drugs and kept over 100 pets. Rumors even said he owned a lion. The Osbournes made him $20 million just for being chaotic on camera. Even in his 70s, he toured on a mobility scooter, yelling at birds in designer coats. Sharon once said Ozzy had no idea where his money went. He just screamed, signed checks, and somehow always got richer. And Sharon? She was running the show.
And I mean, I wondered why you felt you had to do that, to talk about, Ozzy beating you up and Ozzy trying to kill you and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, but you know what, Michael? It takes two to tango. And I'm not a little woman that was abused and beaten by her husband.
Sharon, saint or savage? Let's settle this in the comments. Was she the glue holding chaos together, or the real mastermind all along? In 1982, a fan threw a bat on stage. Ozzy bit into it, live on stage, thinking it was fake. It wasn't. The bat bled. But the craziest part, and believe it or not, that was just a Tuesday for Ozzy. The crowd screamed. Ozzy screamed. The bat didn't, because it was real. That moment became legend. But that was just Tuesday for Ozzy. On tour with Mötley Crüe, he once snorted a line of ants because there was no Coke, then licked up his own urine for fun. Even Crüe was like, bro. He got banned from San Antonio for peeing on the Alamo in a dress. Texas gave him a 10-year timeout. Ozzy said he was too high to know. No one was surprised. His wife Sharon once stabbed him in a fight. They stayed married. He got fired from Black Sabbath for partying too hard. Imagine being too wild for the band that invented metal. That's Ozzy. In 2003, he crashed an ATV, broke 8 ribs, punctured a lung, and was back on tour months later, wrapped in braces, still screaming. Ozzy once said he's been sober like 37 times. Every time he cleaned up, he got louder. By the 2000s, he wasn't just a rocker. He was America's favorite confused grandpa on TV. Ozzy was born John Michael Osbourne in Birmingham, UK in 1948. He grew up poor in a working-class home with 6 kids. He struggled with dyslexia, dropped out of school at 15, and got into trouble almost immediately. As a teen, he started stealing, mostly small electronics and TVs. He got caught and served 6 weeks in prison. That's when he realized 2 things. Jail sucked, and music could get him out of it. That brush with jail made him realize music could save him. He joined a band in 1968. At first, they were called Earth. But when they noticed people paying to watch horror movies, they changed their name to Black Sabbath and leaned into the darkness. The music, it was heavy, demonic, loud, nothing like it existed. They didn't just play metal, they invented it. By the mid-70s, Ozzy Osbourne was the face of metal. Black eyeliner, wild hair, crazy eyes, and lyrics that terrified religious parents across the globe. His voice was instantly recognizable, haunting, slurred, and angry. But that same chaos that made him famous also nearly destroyed him. By 1979, his drug use was so out of control that even Black Sabbath kicked him out. But that wasn't the end, not even close. Because next came Crazy Train, Sharon Osbourne, MTV fame, and the weirdest redemption arc rock and roll has ever seen. Cliffhanger: when you party harder than the devil, even hell kicks you out. In 1979, the chaos got too loud. Ozzy was fired from Black Sabbath, his own band. And the man who told him? Tony Iommi, his brother in riffs, made the call. He speaks for him for the first time.
It was a shock for us. I mean, when I heard yesterday, it couldn't sink in. I thought, it can't be. I only had a text off him the day before. It just seemed unreal, you know, surreal.
Too far gone, they said. The drugs, the disappearances, the demons. They couldn't keep chasing him into the dark. Imagine getting kicked out of a band built on darkness and destruction for being too wild. That was Ozzy. But the firing didn't end him. It lit a fuse. Soon after, he launched his solo career with the iconic album Blizzard of Oz. The lead single, Crazy Train. It wasn't just a hit, it was an anthem. Ozzy had reinvented himself. He wasn't just surviving, he was rising again, louder, weirder, and more dangerous. This is when Sharon entered the picture in a whole new way. More than his love interest, she became his manager and, at times, his life support system. Sharon made the calls, brokered the deals, handled the press. Ozzy, he just showed up, screamed into the mic, and fell over backstage. His solo tours became the stuff of legend and sometimes horror. There were naked doves released indoors, bats bitten, police investigations, and tour bus parties that made most backstage stories seem like kindergarten field trips. The drugs got heavier, so did the debts. Ozzy was making millions and losing them almost just as fast. His lifestyle was insane, his decisions unpredictable, and somehow he was only becoming more famous for it. Which Ozzy song gives you goosebumps? Iron Man? Crazy Train? Drop it below and let's see who's been riding the bat crazy train the longest. Next up, the reality TV chaos that made him a millionaire again. In 2002, Ozzy Osbourne's life took another bizarre turn, straight into mainstream television. MTV launched The Osbournes, a reality show documenting the family's daily life. Ozzy, stumbling through his mansion, mumbling incoherently, yelling at pets, became a household icon again. The show was raw, it was real, it was ridiculous. At its peak, it pulled 8 million viewers per episode, a record for MTV. Suddenly, teenagers who'd never heard a Sabbath song were quoting Ozzy's confused rants. Sharon became a national catchphrase. He yelled it in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in the garden, sometimes twice in one sentence. He wasn't just a rocker, he was a meme. Before memes were even a thing. Sharon Osbourne became an icon herself, turning her quick wit and iron will into a solo career. The kids, Kelly and Jack, were chaos incarnate. Fights, rehab, scandals, laughter, love. It was messy, and that's why it worked. Ozzy capitalized on his new fame with bat plushies, branded merch, and even his own line of gothic-themed clothes and accessories. His face was on everything, and somehow, this chaotic, cursing, half-coherent grandpa was now TV royalty. But behind the scenes, things weren't always funny. The drugs didn't disappear. The family issues didn't either. They were rich, they were dysfunctional, and they were all over your screen. They were the Osbournes. Cliffhanger. But real life wasn't always so funny. In December 2003, Ozzy Osbourne's world nearly ended. While riding a quad bike on his estate, he crashed, breaking 8 ribs, collapsing a lung, and fracturing his collarbone. He was airlifted to the hospital. For days, the world didn't know if he'd make it.
Ozzy Osbourne, While Ozzy Osbourne was enjoying a day off, he decided to jump on an ATV for what should have been a fun ride. A combination of the high speed he was traveling at with the uneven terrain eventually caused the vehicle to flip over. Before anyone could react, the ATV landed atop Osbourne. The musician's bodyguard Sam Rustin reported that he had to perform CPR to get the star breathing again.
But this was Ozzy. He survived. Multiple surgeries followed. He wore a neck brace. He could barely stand. But the second he could move, he was back on stage, singing, performing, falling down again, and getting back up again. Over the next 2 decades, Ozzy would face more battles. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a brutal condition for anyone, let alone a touring rock star.
So now, as far as where you at with the Parkinson's, you feel like you're in a...
You know something? I never think about it. I don't go, oh, I've got Parkinson's. Because it's so mild. I mean, it's ridiculous. If I don't take the medication, I tremor a little bit in the morning.
He joked about it. He kept making music. He kept performing. Even when he had to be helped onto stage, Ozzy never gave up the mic. Sharon once said he'd sing from a hospital bed if he had to. And honestly, he probably would have. He had every reason to retire. He had the money, the fame, the catalog. But he didn't stop. Because being Ozzy wasn't just a job, it was who he was. Drop a skull if you think Ozzy was literally indestructible. Ozzy and Sharon's $11.5 million Hidden Hills mansion wasn't your typical celebrity pad. It was gothic, shadowy, and uniquely Osbourne. Velvet curtains, massive fireplaces, rooms filled with taxidermy and strange art. And then there were the animals.
Stay down there, sweetheart. I love you, darling. Stay down there. You can't go and sit. No, you can't. No, no.
Rumors say the family once had over 100 pets. Dogs, cats, birds, ferrets, snakes. One episode of The Osbournes even featured a missing dog, found in the fridge. It survived, somehow. Ozzy was known to keep fire extinguishers in every room, just in case. He sleepwalked often. Once he woke up and ate an entire frozen pizza, still frozen. His bedroom was black velvet and soundproofed. It had to be. He'd sometimes scream at birds in the garden just because he could. He claimed to be vegan for a while, until he forgot and ate a bacon sandwich. That was Ozzy. A walking contradiction. $1 million contradiction. Even with all the madness, he kept winning. New albums, tours, awards, collaborations. He just kept going. What's your favorite Ozzy moment of all time? The bat, the ants, the ATV crash? Drop it in the comments. Let's build the ultimate Ozzy Hall of Chaos. And then, he was gone. He wasn't just music. He was the madness the music warned you about. And even now, in 2025, silence still feels like Ozzy's just taking a breath. He was a lifestyle. A walking meme before memes existed. The face of metal. The voice of chaos. He gave us headbanging, heartbreak, eyeliner, and unforgettable moments. And while the man may be gone, and somewhere in the afterlife, you just know he's still yelling, Sharon! Hit that subscribe button before the next bat gets it. Bat, comment your favorite Ozzy moment. And tell us, did he go too far, or was he just too real for this world? Subscribe before another bat gets it. Bonus chapter. Family, fame, and fighting the press. The Osbournes weren't just a family, they were TV's chaotic royalty. Sharon met Ozzy in 1979, married him in '82, and stuck with him through every overdose and scandal. She built his brand, launched her own media career, and became worth over $200 million. Kelly went from rehab to runway, hosting shows and building a $15 million brand. Jack turned from wild child to health advocate, now worth $10 million. Amy skipped the spotlight entirely, choosing music and privacy. They were a mess, but $1 million mess. Click the video on the right or left. You won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.